It's coming down to the wire for a couple of guys from Japan and also for one of the biggest Cubs targets that they have, and that is Alex Bregman. There's a dilemma here, though, and it sits with one powerful agent in Scott Boras. We're going to talk about the Bregman Dilemma as the Cubs try to make moves, or do they, to get better for the season upcoming. All that right here on the Cubs Baseball channel. Like, subscribe, thumbs up, and do us a favor. Boom, hit that right there. That's your QR code for Mick Nation, where you got the opportunity to win cash and prizes. Alabama, Indiana coming up. Bama took care of Oklahoma to get to this matchup. 1 versus 8. No, it's 1 versus 9 on New Year's Day in the college football playoff. But we appreciate you guys here during the baseball season. We do a ton of baseball promotions. Also, our swag's on there as well. So let's get this thing started. I'm going to tell you what the dilemma is as this thing called the Alex Bregman sweepstakes continues to sweep. What do you say, everybody? Mick Gillespie, Cubs Baseball Channel, and it is great to talk to you guys today from a gorgeous hotel, the AC Hotel in Rocket City, Huntsville, Alabama. So I've got an Alabama shirt on for today's show. But we're talking Cubs baseball no matter where we are in this country. We're talking Cubs baseball every single day. Now, I want to tell you about this dilemma that I'm looking at right now. It's the Bregman Dilemma, which is really the Scott Boras dilemma. And I don't know for Scott Boras if it's a dilemma, but it certainly is for the Cubs as they try to figure out exactly how they're going to put their team together for this upcoming season. And then you're saying to yourself, now, what do you mean by dilemma? And I'm going to tell you what I mean by dilemma. The dilemma is this. The same guy represents a ton of players in Major League Baseball, and that is Scott Boras, and he's a very powerful agent. Nothing but respect for what he does for the players that he represents. Not always best for the game, but it's up to the owners and the GMs to make good deals. It's up to the players and their representation to make good deals for them. Now, with that said, let me just go ahead and paint the picture here so we try to figure out what the Cubs need to do to get Alex Bregman. The Cubs, it's been reported, would love to have Alex Bregman play third base. Nico Hoerner has been the subject of some trade rumors along with Kendall Marte of the Diamondbacks. And the reason I say that is that a lot of people feel like for the Cubs to be able to make Bregman work, that they're going to have to trade Nico, who's a free agent next year, right? Get value back in that deal, give up the salary. Obviously, you pick up Bregman. You don't want to pay Nico, even though you don't want to give Nico up. Nobody does. And then you move Matt Shaw to second base, and you put Bregman at third, right? That's outside of the talk that Bregman wants a long-term deal and that the Cubs are kind of more comfortable, along with the Red Sox, with the shorter-term deal, maybe with more money packed into a shorter contract. They don't want to be stuck with this guy if he gets hurt and he can't play in 4 years, right? Now, there's another team in this mix, and that's the Arizona Diamondbacks. And the Diamondbacks are kind of in that same spot to reports that the Cubs are in, where if they go and make this deal for Bregman, who they would love to have to try to compete with the Dodgers and the Giants and the Padres in a really tough division, then Kendall Marte, who was a favorite and an all-star, now not as popular anymore. Teammates kind of got upset with him for missing some games after his house got robbed. You had the whole thing where he got upset because of what someone said about his mom on the field. And then when they kind of looked at what the guy said, maybe he just kind of interpreted it wrong, or maybe it was mean. I don't know. But I think some people felt like maybe when they heard exactly what it was he was upset about, that he kind of went over the top on that, right? So with that said, I don't know. I don't have an opinion. I wasn't there. I don't know. I just know that when you start seeing reports that teammates want you out, that's normally a sign that you're going to get traded. Marte, just like Nico Hoerner, a second baseman, that the team's going to have to move financially to be able to get Bregman. That makes it a little tougher to make a deal, right? Because you don't necessarily know if you're going to be able to get that deal. So you go sign someone, and then you end up in the same situation last year that the Giants were in with Rafael Devers, right? You show up, hey, I play third. No, I play third. And then, you have a bad clubhouse, right? So that's part of the dilemma. Do the Cubs make this move? Now, the other part of it is that Boras represents a lot of these guys that are that are basically in the mix right now to join different teams. The dilemma looks like this. Scott Boras represents Alex Bregman, right? The subject of this particular show. And so you got him. But he also represents Imai, the pitcher that we've been talking about, Tatsuya Imai from Japan, and Okamoto. We were talking about Okamoto yesterday, the slugger third baseman from Japan. Both of those players that he represents have to be they're posted, so they have to be signed in the first week in January, right? So, I mean, why would he work real hard to and I'm talking about Scott Boras on making a Bregman deal when he's running out of time on these two guys from Japan that are on a deadline, right? So that's part of this, right? It's just funny, because and Scott Boras is one of the great agents in the game. He also represents Cody Bellinger, and again, that's kind of one of those things where you're going, hey, not that Cody Bellinger is going to ever be a Cub again, but he's not worried about Bellinger. He's not worried about Bregman. He's worried about Okamoto and Imai, because if he's not, he's going to lose those two deals, right? So it's probably not going to see a whole lot happen before those two guys end up getting where they're going to get. And the Cubs have been in the mix for Imai. You keep hearing their name, basically referenced in that deal. It could come down to the Cubs, the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Phillies in this one. Maybe the Mets, who knows? But the Cubs are there. Again, what is their appetite to give up that type of cash for a guy who's never played a major league game? Although the Japanese players have come over and they really have done a nice job of getting here to the States and playing well. Now, we're talking about Kazuma Okamoto. This is a guy who could possibly fit the Cubs. I mean, I haven't heard the Cubs' name in the mix, and we mentioned that on yesterday's show. And then you hear reports out of Japan that that this guy's down the three teams, and it could be the Pittsburgh Pirates. But when you talk about who this guy is, he's known for excellent bat to ball skills. Not a big chaser. He's got an improving strikeout to walk ratio. He's got a ton of power. And with that power comes a pretty good exit velocity off the bat that hits 95 to 105. He's projected in the major leagues to be kind of a Seiya Suzuki, Christian Walker type of guy. And we love Suzuki. We've seen what he can do, right? 18 to 25 home runs. He's a third and first baseman. He won Gold Gloves 21 and 22 playing third base in Japan. So, I mean, he could do that. But it's crazy to me that we just haven't heard his name pop up with the Cubs. And so the reports are that he's down the three teams, and the three teams are the Angels, the Padres, and the Pirates. So nothing sexy about either one of those teams, any one of those three teams. And then with, Scott Boras representing him, he's going to get him signed and then move to the next guy. I mean, that's just the way that this business works. So anyway, look, that's the show for today. It's still going to be everybody's eyes on Scott Boras. What's going to happen? The Cubs' two biggest targets, Imai and Bregman, are represented by Scott Boras. You wonder if, how many conversations the Cubs front office has had with Scott Boras. A lot. And remember, there was a time when the Cubs and Scott Boras didn't really do a whole lot. It's changed, man. Like the last few years, feels like they've worked together on quite a few things. And, and look, the Cubs are a team that has money now. They're in a bigger market. And I think that is good for them because you don't want to cut off any, channels to add to your team. Talking about channels, make sure that you guys click that right there. Or these for you guys today for the holidays, the championship rings. Go ahead and hit that. It's our QR code, AveD, Mick Nation, join up, be a part of what we do here on a daily basis. And thank you for hanging. We've got hats, and obviously we love your comments, all of that stuff. We're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers. You guys help us get there. Anyway, thanks. Have a great holiday if you're not already. We'll do it again tomorrow, and go Cubs.